Hey y'all, happy Saturday. It's your girl, Shani Tabia, and I have a thought that I want to share while I eat my soup, my chicken noodle soup that I just made from scratch. It's really good. I was thinking about grief and how it comes in multiple levels and layers. So they always say grief comes in waves, right? Which is true. It is true. It does come in waves. Some days you're perfectly fine, and other days it's like, whoo, you're under. But in addition to it coming in waves, it also, for me, comes in levels. So my mom passed away. I mentioned this before, but in case you're new here, my mom passed, which still is weird to even say. The fact that that's like a real thing, that my mother is no longer on the earth, that's a whole nother conversation. But my mother passed away January 31st, 2025 of this year. And what I've realized is that in my grief, as I grieve my mom, I miss my mom. Yes, absolutely. I'm sad about my mother not being here. Yes. What I'm also grieving is the version of life that existed while my mother was here. The version of myself that existed while my mom was here. The different dynamics that existed while my mom was here. The dreams that existed while my mom was here. And reaching farther back, so my mom, I would say the last 5 years of my mother's life was rough. She was sick for maybe a year and a half. She was diagnosed in 2023, August of 2023. And then she passed January 31st of 2025. But the dynamics of my relationship with my mother got increasingly intense the past 5 years of her life. And that's with like everybody in the family. So I miss some of that. But even going further back, like life now just feels so unrecognizable. It's so hard to like get a grasp on not just where I am, but like where am I going? But like what is next? What's coming next? What is happening? Because everything is different. And when I say I miss the dynamics or I'm grieving life as it was when my mom was here, like in my eyes anyway, like my family was much more connected. Like there was much more togetherness. And I guess even reaching farther back to when my grandmother was still alive. Like when things die, when people die, when things leave, when there is a loss, so many things change. And not always for the better. And I've been thinking a lot about death because it just seems like there's just death. And there's life. Thank you, Lord Jesus. There is life. But every time I get the news that somebody passed or there's somebody died, like I'm just reminded like how real death is. And I know that with death, there is an opportunity for life and for rebirth and for things to be born again. But in that void, in between, there's just like this emptiness. And nobody talks about it. Like they talk about, when someone dies and then people just go on about their lives, or someone dies and then maybe a new baby is born, or it's the circle of life and things keep moving. But what if it's not always instant? Like things are dying and, and, new things are being born, and 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 what if you don't like the new things that are being born? What if they're not things, what if there are things being born of death and not of life? Like, this may not be making sense, but this is just what I'm thinking about. Like, what, and I wish there was more conversation around that void, that in between, that space between death and life. Whew, that's going to make me cry. That's where I feel like I am now. So yeah, just thinking about death, grief, the multiple levels of it, that you're not just grieving one thing. And I just wanted to give voice to my experience, because it's something that I don't see a lot of people talking about. And maybe it's unique to me, but what I know about humanity is that nothing is unique to us. And so maybe it will help somebody else feel less alone. I don't have a pretty bow to tie that up in, or some message or some moral that I want you to take away from. I guess just the acknowledgement of the levels of grief, the layers of grief, and the space in between death and life. Thank you for listening.